Hey Alvin, I'm not seeing you live in Facebook. Have you hit go live in Facebook?
Well, hello, and good evening, good day, good morning, everyone. Wherever in the world you are, I am looking forward to the few moments that we will spend today talking about you. Talking about you. With what you know, you should well be aware, unless you're brand new on this call, in this session, that our primary point of focus is empowering, instructing, and equipping people to stand or sit with poise and deliver their truth to whatever audience through the camera lens and even standing in front of a live audience. Now, this is something that I have been doing for over 25 years, which means that I have been paid to learn. And over that period, we have created a model that we regard as the best practices of public speaking. I've never seen anything like it. I guarantee you, you will never see anything like it. At least you won't see anything right now like it. And this has to do with mastery of the messenger, the message, the method, the medium, and the money making of public speaking. Under the first one, which is the mastery of the messenger, which means it begins with you, we talk about what it takes for you to be prepared and equipped to deliver. And it must begin with you. Too many people who suffer from fear and nervousness and uncertainty find themselves pushed by time and circumstance to appear in front of an audience long before they are ready, because the first piece of work that needs to be done is not on the script, not on the research, but on you, on me. And one of the critical aspects of getting the messenger prepared is what I want to focus on today. That is your presence. And when you have to stand in front of an audience through a camera lens or on stage, to have the kind of presence where you will be taken seriously, to have the gravitas, to have the credibility, to have the personal energy and so forth, so that you can be taken seriously. Now, that does not come easily, I dare say. If you are scared stiff of the opportunity in front of you, if you have all kinds of memories of your past bugging you in your mind and saying you're going to fail, you're going to trip up and so forth. But when you get those things right, the first order of business is to ensure that your presence is consistent with the outcome that the audience wants or that you want from the audience. Now, this presence is very dependent on how you look, because that's what people use to judge you. And it is said that people make a very quick decision within the first 7 seconds of knowing you, of meeting you as a speaker. They decide if you're credible or not, and if they're going to pay full attention to you or not. That is crazy. First 7 seconds. What that means is that you need to be ready. You need to be in a space where what they see is at least not inconsistent with the message you have come to deliver. Now, the way they get that impression to make a judgment, whether it be 7 seconds or in the first minute, is by external observation of you. However, that external observation is rooted and founded on the internal condition of your heart, your mind, your spirit, your soul, your thinking. So on the one hand, we're going to begin today talking about your presence, which is the observable part that people see, but really the root of it is what's going on inside you. Yeah? And so if you're going to be a great presenter, if you're going to be highly effective in your public speaking, it is necessary to begin to work on the inside of you. You certainly can dress up nicely and make sure that you're abiding by protocol and appearance and hold your body right and so forth. But if the inside is not consistent with that, it will betray you at some point or another. Scary proposition? It doesn't have to be. Let's just talk about the inside for a moment, because that's what they see projecting. You see, here's the thing. I can fool people by looking the part, whatever that part may be, fulfilling expectations by consciously portraying a presence that I think is appropriate for the moment. But I can do that while my conscious mind is engaged in what I look like and how I feel and how they see me. So I'm making conscious effort to look relaxed, to smile, to hold my body right, and so forth. But I'm doing it consciously. In the moment, when my conscious focus slips, my subconscious mind takes over. And if they watch carefully, they will see when the real you comes out. So what am I saying? Yeah, you have to dress right, you have to look right, and so forth. But it has to happen on the inside, because when it happens on the inside, you don't have to be too conscious of it. You don't have to use your conscious mind to do it. It will just come out of you naturally, because the subconscious, the embedded impressions of who you are, will come out naturally. All right, so with that much of an introduction, let's talk about what it takes to own the room even before you begin to speak. And yes, the first aspect of that is presence, externally observed and internally generated. When you are before the camera, or when you are in the room in a physical location, it is necessary to put yourself into an altered state of consciousness, which means that you now are not just a member of that room. You're not just a person with a camera looking inside your face, your eyes, your mouth, and everything that you do. You are now in a state of mental power that needs to be transmitted when they see you. I think of a leader of an organization, a pretty large organization. And when we went into COVID-19, this leader was transmitting to his group from his home. And every time I saw that leader, the leader was sitting in his couch with miscellaneous distractions on the wall, and was laid back like this and dressed in a shirt that looked like he had just come out of the backyard. What he had to say was powerful. He's brilliant. He has a PhD. But I guarantee you, if I just invited you to that call and you took one look at this person, you go, okay, who's talking? What? Who's this guy? And that distraction might get in the way of you're making that 7-second decision about taking that person as authoritative and legitimate. or even if you did follow that person, it would distract you, so some of the important things that person had to say would not register. In talking about the messenger, mastering the messenger of that 5-step process I just related a while ago, one of the comments that we make is that until the messenger is believed, the message will not be received. Think of it. You can become the noise that stands in the way of the truth you want to dispense to people in the world as you sit before a camera, as you stand before an audience. Because if they see you and your face is not properly made up and you still have broccoli in your teeth and your hair is disheveled and not fitting to the expectations of the audience, underline that, they will focus on that. And immediately as they start focusing on that, they start missing pieces of what you say. And when it gets bad enough, they're like, you know what, dismiss you. And especially if it's in a business setting where they need to look professional, they will look professional and sleep with their eyes open. I mean, I'm looking at you right now, but it doesn't take much for me to make a slight glance and read my email in the background. And they will do that to you in a webinar. I've seen it. You see, so it is essential that the messenger be received by having the presence that will fit into the protocol and the expectations of the audience. Let's talk about that. It is not as if there were some absolute state of being that makes you acceptable to an audience and I could give you the 3 things you need to do. No, it is very subjective, and it is based upon what audience is in front of you and their expectations. So in a business, there's a sort of psychological profile. You're in a company with managers and people doing a certain kind of work to fulfill the mission of the company. There is protocol. There are sets of expectations as to how you comport yourself. I have a client that is extremely formal and professional. And every person in that company I train on this subject and other leadership subjects is professional, is sit up straight, they speak with certainty, and they are polite, and their communication skills are extraordinary. And when I walk into that company, which happens to be a central bank, I mean, how much more formal does it get? They're a central bank. I need to be dressed and to comport myself in such a way that fits their expectations, not so I can stand out, but so that I don't become noise and to do something that they're not expecting to distract their attention from what I want to say. And I tell you that because I've had another client that was down on the wharf by the ocean, and it was the senior managers in a shipping company. Now, I wanted to take my same professional suit and tie and sit up straight and talk in a way that seems like I'm educated to these folks. And it was frustrating for the first few sessions. And they weren't paying attention. They were all over the place. They'd get up and go out for a smoke and so forth. And I came to realize, wait a minute, they're a different audience. These guys are shipping people. They're sailors. They're wharf hands. And many of them in the senior executive posts had started on the dock, loading boxes onto ships. And then had done it so well that they got promoted. And now one of them is is a VP of finance, and the other one is in charge of HR. This is the culture in which they live. And I am now coming and trying to superimpose the presence of a central bank. And I went, I understand now why it's not connecting. And so the next time I went, I showed up without a tie. I had one of my sleeves rolled up, and I put my foot up on a chair. And when they cursed, because they curse on the dock, I didn't seem shocked. I couldn't curse in return, but I did not seek to speak in perfect grammatical sentences and structures. I did it naturally as it came out, and we got along just fine. So your presence needs to be tailored, therefore, to the audience and its expectations of the world in which they live and how you ought to be. Now, I would dare say, though, that when it comes to your presence, you need to be a slight step ahead of them. So, in other words, if they're walking around with flip-flops and shorts and so forth, you don't have to go to that level. You can walk in with a sort of semi-formal, semi-casual business thing, because even though they're accustomed to that, they expect you to be a slight touch ahead, beyond them, so they can look up to you as the authority on the particular subject. But please, if they are in flip-flops and shorts, do not show up in a tuxedo. Be closer to matching them and speak more or less the way they speak. And use the analogies that they use. Stop talking PhD stuff when they're talking about day-and-day blocking and tackling, bread and butter issues in their lives. Yes? So I learned that, and it made a difference for me. Your presence. So let's go through a couple things. When you're on camera, when you're in front of the audience, presuming that it's not guys who want to slouch back, put up their feet on the table, leave the room and go smoke, talk 4 people at a time because that's how they work. Assuming that you're not at that level of talking with dock hands, and if so, you adjust. Make sure that your shoulders are square, and make sure that you're smiling. Make sure that you're ready for the moment, that you seem to be the professional in whom they can trust for the information that they want from you. Now, there's a warning that comes with this. If it's not coming from the inside, if you have not made peace with your past and with your failures, and if you're not in a position where fear is not an issue, if you're still afraid of life and people, in order to get that presence, you might have to resort to contrivance. You might have to contrive it. And when you put it on because you know it's necessary and it becomes affectation, it works the very opposite. So there's some folks who will go in front of an audience or be in the room and so forth, and they know they need to look a certain way, and it comes off as pride and condescension. Don't overdo it. You don't need to be brilliant and the star in every moment in the place. When they look at you, they know that you are Mr. Wonderful or Miss Wonderful. You just need to fit in and represent a standard for them to respect. That's all. Do not push it to the point where it becomes ego or condescension. How do you know the difference between that and being the authentic you who simply fits into the place? It's an inside job. It's coming to reconcile that you're here for a purpose, and despite the nervousness you might feel, you came because you have information they don't have and they need it. And rather than being afraid or being cocky and proud, you are overcome with a heavy duty and obligation to deliver. And you know you are the one who's supposed to be the channel of water to a thirsty land. And you just stand there knowing that if you don't do it right, they will have failed to get what you brought as a benefit. That's how you know you worked on yourself. You're not worried about yourself. You just see yourself as this functionary who better work or you will have failed to deliver what you should be delivering. Yes? So there are many, many things we need to talk about with regard to preparing you on the inside. But I won't get into that. That's beyond the scope of today's lesson. We have another session, a series of sessions where we deal with the messenger in greater depth. And so just let it suffice to say that at the least, when you walk in front of a room or you're in the room even before you get up on stage, when you sit or stand in front of a camera, you need to be in an altered state of consciousness that weighs heavily on you because of the responsibility you have to be credible, to be legit, so that the people will take you seriously and you can deliver effectively. Your presence. Now, let's talk about something that is related, although different. Of the 3 things I want to share with you, energy. When I was a child, I didn't understand energy. I learned in physics that energy cannot be created or destroyed. And there's this a Newtonian concept of cause and effect and so forth. And I looked at it from a scientific perspective. But I came to realize that there's an energy that science cannot measure. There's an energy that can be created and destroyed by a person's presence. And it is not made up, it's palpable, it's real, and it has practical outworking. When you are in front of people, when you're in a room, whether it be digital room or a physical room, this altered state of consciousness to which I referred earlier needs to give you the energy of certainty. The energy of certainty. And it's not a certainty that you're shouting, it is a certainty that communicates itself through your body language, through your thoughts, through your words. And that energy is infectious in terms of affecting other people. It can repel people from you and it can attract people to you. Smiling is energy. Frowning is energy. Holding your face down and not wanting to meet people's eye, make eye contact is a way of expressing energy and dousing it. You have to be in a position where you have the energy of certainty. Now, why is that necessary? Because as you perform, and go through the process of delivering your truth to the audience, that truth is not being delivered just by words. When they look at you and decide if you're credible and they ought to pay attention, they don't make that decision only by the words you speak. And if that were not interesting enough, I'll say it another way. They don't make that decision primarily on the words that you speak. There's something even more important than the words that you speak. Wait a minute, but a presentation has to do with words. It certainly does. I want to talk with you about something called the Mehrabian formula, Mehrabian. And the Mehrabian formula says that communication comprises 55% of communications made up of body language, of the way your head moves, your arms move, your eyes run around the room, and how you look when you are speaking your truth. 55%. And if that were not staggering enough because it's more than half of the impression you make, I find this to be incredible. If that were not enough, 38%.
I didn't understand that.
38% of it is made up of your tone, your voice, the way your voice projects. So they are listening to the tonality, the rise and fall, the cadence, the dynamism, the amplitude, the everything about your voice before they get to the actual words the voice is transmitting. Now, for me, that can be a pretty scary proposition until I deal with it. Because, you know, when you're asked to do a presentation, let me say it this way, when I am asked to do a presentation, it used to be that my primary preoccupation was, okay, what do I do? What do I say? Let me do the research. Let me get the words together. Let me divide it into structure. Let me figure out what I will say, how I will introduce it. What are the 3 points I want to make? How will I close? And if I'm not careful, I spend most of my time preparing that, only to come to realize that while that 7% that's left is words. Wait a minute, let's go back through the mathematics here. 55% your body language. 38% your tonality and the way your voice travels and moves and is dynamic. And the remaining 7%, your words. When I come to realize that, it puts a greater emphasis on me working on the messenger. Oh, I go straight to the message, but the message is blocked if they don't buy it based upon how I'm communicating with my body. The message is blocked if they don't buy it because my voice is quivering and caving in, and I sound tenuous and tentative and uncertain, or if my voice is condescending and I have an edge of skepticism in my voice and talk down a little bit to the audience, and they're listening to that, or if my voice is monotone and it's just moving very narrowly on the amplitude scale here, where they hear it and they can't even perceive it because it doesn't have the dynamics necessary to keep the human interest engaged. That's a scary proposition. And so the question is, how then do you prepare your words, knowing that the words are the final conduit of the message? In other words, you don't just go in front of an audience and do body language and go la 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 and do tonality. They will not get the message. How therefore do you make that 7% high impact and powerful? Because see, it is the conduit that contains the truth you're sharing. One of the courses we teach, and we have an exciting thing happening right now. It's a 30-day challenge. And one of the things that we teach is that you should not go to school to learn body language. Even though I'm saying body language is 55% according to the Mehrabian formula, you should not go to a course that teaches you body language. And the answer to it, and we make sure people get this, as I hope you'll get it just briefly now, is that you should not be telling your story to the audience. You should be reliving your story in front of the audience so that they see you experience it. In other words, your presentation can be like a CNN reporter saying, that building over there was blown up yesterday, 4 people died, and as you can see on the outside, the emergency crew is still here and they're ferreting through the rubble and so forth. Now let's move to the weather. That's a CNN approach. I've coined it as a tactical way of communicating. Yeah. But when you're telling it to your friend and what you observed, you're reliving it. You said, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. I was actually there when the fire was blazing. I couldn't do anything about it. And then the next day I learned that 3 people died. Oh my God, I feel so useless. Now, when you're relating it to your friend, you're not thinking about protocol and body language and all of that. It's just flowing out of you. Why? Because you're reliving it. You're revisiting the moment of that experience. And as you relive it, look at me. See, I did not tell myself to do this. It says I'm feeling what I'm talking about, and my subconscious mind attributes a certain physical expression to the thoughts that are going on in my head and my heart. And it makes me go up here and touch my head with the perfect timing and touch my heart with the perfect timing. How do I know it's perfect? Because I did not decide to do it. It was elicited by the feeling I was experiencing at the moment when I did this. Oh, this is so important. I hope you get it. The way you own the room, the way you own the audience, is not to be a didactic, academic, theoretical communicator of words. Words are cheap. Important, but words are cheap without the clothing, the packaging of the human experience that goes with it, that has to do with our moving. Our body was made to move. And again, I say to you, be careful of not contriving it. Because when you contrive it, you cannot always get the timing right. Now, unless you're a professional actor, you can't get the timing right. There are going to be times when you decide you're going to pound on the lectern 3 times, and because you have to do it in your conscious mind, you have to plan it, you have to execute it perfectly. Otherwise, the very discerning audience will go, yeah, you're just trying to make an impression. But when you're feeling it, it comes out so naturally that it's organic. It's organic. And now, the audience observing you speak, I didn't say hearing you speak, the audience observing you speak, observe the power of this point coming down at the perfect timing, and the power of this other point coming down at the perfect timing, and so on, and they feel it. This is audience engagement when they get emotionally involved in the performance you're giving them that is natural, authentic, and organic, because you're not just telling them stuff, you're living through the stuff. Now, that it doesn't matter if you're delivering a motivational speech to MBAs who just joined your company, or you're delivering the quarterly report to management. The quarterly report with all those charts and graphs and so forth. You might think that sort of lame data, facts and figures do not apply. It doesn't apply to them. It applies even more, because in the absence of this dynamism, in the absence of this sort of emotional connection and engagement, the data is boring and meaningless. So you ascribe importance to it based upon this energy that you put around it. Yes? Wow. And I realize I'm going through a lot of things here that are not necessarily easy if you have not practiced them before, but we are going to talk about how you practice them. I have a way of holding you accountable through this 30-day challenge, day after day after day, to practice them so that when you emerge at the end of the 30-day challenge, that which was a challenge before, you don't even think about it anymore. It just happens naturally. Isn't that amazing? Yes? So, body language, voice tone, making sure you can speed it up and slow it down, and basically the expression of passion. I have a client I'm coaching in public speaking, and more than one actually, more than one. She believes that in order to be successful, she needs to imitate my tonality and my body language. Yeah, I'm complimented about that. That's great to have your clients feel that good about you, that well about you. But I keep saying, look, don't try to imitate me. Okay, so use what I do as a sort of template, but don't try to imitate me, because the body language and the tone that come out of me are a function of my psyche, my experiences, my emotional space from which the information is flowing. What you need to be able to do is let your personality, your psyche, your emotional space be the experience through which the data lives when you talk it. So, I mean, I do this, I do that, I wrinkle my eyes, I move into the camera, I move back. You may be completely different and have an even more powerful effect. My voice runs up and down, and when I want to emphasize a point, I raise my voice and I wrinkle my face. But let me give you another approach to this. let's say you're a more serious human being than I am, because I'm quite giddy and goofy. Life is wonderful in that space, you know. And you're talking about some information that is critical to the audience, and you're going at your normal pace, making sure that they understand you. And there's a point at which you lean in and you go, look, if you do not do this today, it's going to ruin your tomorrow. I mean, there's no way around it. I know what I'm talking about. Could you feel the power? Could you feel the power, even though that person actually took the tone down and whispered? So in other words, you don't plan it necessarily, you feel it. And based upon your personality, your point of dramatic emphasis may be taking it down to very much of a whisper, so they have to lean in to hear you. And that's no less powerful than what I do flailing my arms. You may be just like, oh, you have no idea what's waiting for us if we do not accept this proposal. I came here today to tell you what I have found, and believe me, when we're done, you're going to want to move with this proposal. All right, so let's go to the first page. Your presence is more than just your words. Now, part of our training is how to get your words working right, because look, if the words are the actual content of what you came to deliver your truth, and it's only paid attention to like 7% weighting, then the words really need to be good, yes? But just be aware that there's that other 93% that you must master. Otherwise, the words will not even get a chance to be pondered, to be processed. All right. The last thing I want to share with you then is this thing that we referenced earlier on about your thinking, your mind, that is the basis for the energy and the basis for your presence. And it is something with which people struggle, and they struggle with it sometimes without even knowing it, Your mindset is not something that you decided to have. It's something that is a compilation of all the experiences of your life, of your personality, of the way you grew up, of the friends with whom you surround yourself, of the way you process the past, failures and successes of your life, of all the circumstances surrounding you as a sentient being moving through the universe. Your mind, the way it is made up, and the thinking is a function of what you know, what you expect, what you anticipate. It is a subjective thing. It's a thing of personal human experience. And when it is working right, you are a powerful human being. So you're listening to this, and this is the point at which you click on the video or fast forward it to the end because you don't need it anymore. The reason you know you don't need this part of it anymore is the following. Stay with me. I'm going to shorten this session for you. This is the point at which you can go about your business and not spend the next 5 minutes with me before we're done. If you grew up in a family that was extremely nurturing, that did not beat you up every time you made a mistake, if you have people in your family to whom you look up and you want to be like them personally and professionally, if you, although you may not have been there before, do not fear going there because you're adventurous, and imposter syndrome is a crazy concept you don't even understand. You don't know why people would even have that. If rejection for you is not a big pejorative word that you fear, if you do not have any strong emotional feelings about failure in front of an audience, and you figure that failure is just a way of delivering authentically and they see you the way you are, and if you fall, you're going to get up and deliver anyway. If the past errors that you made in your life do not besiege you with concern and inadequacy, and you have to figure out how to reach them and obliterate them and erase them in your mind, if you enjoy a spirit of freedom and know that you're part of the earth and you're here to do a role, and you have passion and power and purpose driving you, and whatever you set out to do, you just do it with all your heart, and you almost never look back. I say almost never look back at the failures of the past. Then you can fast forward and we're done for today. Thank you, because this piece is not relevant to you. If all the people who've ever done you wrong in the past have been forgiven and you have no negative emotional connections to them, it's all just neutral. You are that person and the session is done. But if you have ever made serious mistakes in your life, if you have ever failed in front of an audience and not known how to deal with it, if you tremble in your guts and it incapacitates you when you think about standing in front of an audience or going in front of a camera, if you feel afraid of staring people in the eyes, just simply and normally looking people in the eyes and leaning into the camera, if you fear that because you think they're going to see that you don't belong there, we have some work to do. The good news is that person I described earlier, while that person cannot change the past, that person can minimize the past and enlarge the future, and the present can take that person to where the person needs to be, and you can be trained to do that. Isn't that amazing? If you knew my past, you might quickly come to consider the notion that I'm nobody. I have no pedigree, no social importance that I need to defend. I grew up as a nothing boy from a nowhere place. And I was very fortunate to learn the word of God that taught me that the fact that I have breath and mobility and thoughts and I'm a sentient being means that I am a son of God, that the king is my father, and that I am in fact a prince. Am I saying I don't have fears? Am I saying I don't have bad things happening in my life? No, I'm not saying that. But when they happen, I get over them and I move on anyway. Am I saying I've not failed in major ways? I'm not. I have failed. But I just have this at the base. You remember how I said the present is evaluated from the outside, but it is actually generated from the inside? The inside, what I know on the inside is that I am a child of a king. What I know from the inside is that the Lord has given me something, that my studies and my experience and my past failures and successes give me a little something that I want to share with people, and it's a heavy responsibility. And when I look back and I see the past, it doesn't incapacitate me nearly as much as it would otherwise, or it did before I learned all this. And so when we talk about thinking and mindset and so forth, you are in a certain space right now. You might have left, I don't know, or you might still be here and say, how do I overcome fear? How do I overcome imposter syndrome? How do I overcome the fact that I sometimes know the right thing to do and do the wrong thing, and I feel guilty and inadequate? And this is the reason we're having the session. You see, there are a number of tactical and strategic things that can be done to address the thinking that undergirds your presence. There are a number of tactical and strategic things that can be done to give you the kind of effervescent, explosive energy that is magnetic and pulls people toward you. There are tactics and strategy that can give you the confidence and the ease and poise so that your presence befits the truth you want to share with your audience. And I'm really, really excited about this because while I have done this for over 25 years in corporate boardrooms with senior executives and middle managers and directors, now I am doing with any individual who wants to maximize capabilities in these areas, live up to potential, and even get to that fifth M, the money making. And so if you have any issues with anything that we've spoken about, if you're still here and have not fast forwarded to the end because you have overcome all these things, I invite you in this Facebook group to go to the 30-day challenge and read through that. The 30-day challenge and read through that and take that challenge, because in 30 days you will emerge as a different person. I have broken down everything that I know about public speaking into personal communication with you, and day by day, I will hold you accountable, not just to know these things, but to internalize the things and to practice them, so that by the end of the 30-day period, you will be a different person when it comes not only to public speaking in front of a camera and otherwise, but in terms of how you see yourself, how you feel when you go to the Parent Teachers Association, when you go to the grocery store, when you're sitting alone in your room and evaluating, who am I? Because it's in that personal space where the effectiveness you have as a public speaker is generated. So it's more than just public speaking. So if there be any opportunities in any of the things we've spoken about today or before, I want you to go look at this 30-day challenge in Facebook and read through it and become a part of that 30-day challenge. And I look forward to disrupting your thinking, to bothering you, to disturbing you, and to create discontinuities in your mind and make you go, oh my gosh, he's right. I was made for more than this. I've been joking. I have not lived up to my potential, and I will. Be a part, therefore, of this 30-day challenge. And I look forward to seeing you and working with you step by step. And here's the great part. A 30-day challenge is all good, and it suggests a start and stop process. But may I say to you, for those who take that 30-day challenge, and this is very strange, this is not how you do your marketing. I'm going to live with you for an entire year, So let me put it another way. These things about which we have been speaking, about your personal development and your communication skills and your ability to influence the world. How would you like it if I were to work with you for an entire year to practice the things you learn, to critique, to suggest, to give you tips and techniques and tools over the period of a year, once a week, every week, live? And if that sounds sensible to you, you just have to be part of the challenge. The challenge, the 30-day challenge, the confidence builder, how to be powerful on camera. And it's not just camera, it's also the live stage. That's what I came to share with you today. I want to see if there are any other points that I wanted to cover. No, that's it basically. I just wanted to wrap up now. I want to wrap up now and so say to you that public speaking is a really powerful and important thing. It is how you communicate one-to-many. It is how you attain efficiency in your life. One-to-one is wonderful. It's personal, it's private, it's cherished. But if you want to change the world, you have to do it 7 billion times to reach everybody. And yet, when you do it one-to-many by public speaking, you can reach 100,000. You can reach 10,000 with a one message, just by knowing what it takes to have the presence that's credible and trusted, to have the energy that magnetizes people toward you, and to have all of that built on a foundation of a certainty and an assurance that you were born for purpose, and you have passion, and you have the poise necessary to be heard and trusted and believed, so that people will do what you know is right for them. What a powerful position in which to be. I look forward to talking with you next week at the same time. And more so, I look forward to being a part of you being a part of this group, this 30-day challenge, because we are going to have some great times. I'm not going to try to motivate you. I'm going to try to disturb your mind with the possibilities that make you quiver until you grasp them and practice them and make them materialize in your life. Oh, what a thing it is. I look forward to seeing you then. Have a great day, morning, evening, and we'll talk next week.